Hello, Disney fans. You'll notice I don't have my usual background up, and that's because this video is in a review. It's a tribute. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I was more often than not joined by my cat Dee, and I wanted to let you know why she won't be seen in the videos anymore. A few days ago, she started to have trouble walking. I took her to the vet. She came home with some meds, but the following day she could not use her hind legs at all anymore. Took her back to the vet, and I was forced to make the most painful decision of my life. But even though she isn't here in body anymore, I know that she'll be around in spirit every time I make one of these videos. She loved to be on camera, and that's why this seemed like a nice way to remember her and to pay tribute to her. But I don't just want to talk about her death, I want to talk about her life too. And I understand that this is a sad video, hard for me to make, but it helps me heal. I'm making it for therapy for myself as well as a tribute to her. And if any of you if any of my regular viewers aren't comfortable watching it, I more than understand. That's what the click away button is for. But if you want to keep listening, you'll hear some great stories about her. Dee was actually born in my grandpa's shed. She was one of a litter of 5 kittens, and we couldn't take them into the house at the time. But thankfully, the person I refer to as my sister in bond came out for a visit along with her mother-in-law. And her mother-in-law was a good friend of mine too, an incredibly sweet lady with a huge heart for animals. And she opened her home to all 5 of the kittens, and she gave them the best home that any cat could ever hope for as long as she lived. But tragically, we lost her to an aneurysm. And after that, my sister in bond called me up and said, would you be willing to take one of the cats? And the cat that I took was Dee. It's so funny now looking back because we were constantly together after, but for the first 2 months, you would never have known that I had a cat on the place. She was a master at hiding, and I don't blame her. This poor cat had just lost her closest human friend and everything she'd ever known. And so for the first 2 months, she stayed hidden. I remember the morning after she came to live with me, I opened up the bathroom closet, which had not been opened since she came home. I have no idea how she got in there, but somehow she had gotten in there and the door was shut behind her. I opened it up and there's Dee looking at me. She was a master of that kind of thing. She could be sneaky. That same morning, I was going to have some cereal for breakfast, and for some weird reason, I poured the milk first. Usually, cereal goes first, but at any rate, I poured the milk, I turned to get the cereal, and by the time I turned around, Dee was drinking out of the bowl of milk. I couldn't drink it after that, so I poured it in her bowl, and she goes over and sniffs it and walks away like, nah, changed my mind, don't want it. She was never one for human food. She would sniff it like, is it worthy of me? I don't know. I think I'll pass on that. I remember one time my mom had pretty much had it with her hiding the way she did, and my mom came over to visit me, and she's like, where's the cat? I'm like, oh, behind the couch. Mom decided to get her out. Yeah, Dee ran it into the kitchen, up onto the kitchen cupboard. She was a master at jumping up at things. She jumped, I forget what she jumped on first, but anyway, she ended up on the kitchen cupboards. Mom got on a chair to get her down, and I'm just going to say Dee made it known that she did not want my mom to do that. Yeah, last time my mom ever tried that. Not that Dee scratched or hurt her, but I'll let you use your imagination as to what Dee did to get put down again. Yeah. It involves some cleanup, I'll just say that. Um, Once Dee did warm up to me, she was the best friend anyone could ask for. She was my snooze button. She loved to lay, not with me, on me. She always slept on my chest at night. And when the alarm went off, she'd snuggle in deeper, like, "No, you're not getting up, Mom. You're sleeping right there with me a little longer." She loved to cuddle, and even if I was just sitting on the couch watching TV, she'd be by me. One of her last days, when her legs weren't working so good, she put her claws in the couch and she pulled herself up because she couldn't jump up anymore. And of course, I helped her up and held her. She loved to jump up on things. I remember one time she jumped up on the hut, and I had some glass flower vases up there. There's a dividing wall between my kitchen and my living room, and the hut is in the kitchen. She jumped up on the dividing wall from there to the hut, knocked down the flowers. I don't know how that vase didn't break, but she looks down at it like, "Why'd it go down? Not my fault. I didn't do it." She had the funniest way of she loved to knock things down, and if I heard it, I'd yell at her, "Dee Dee!" And I'd hear, "Mmm," like, I don't care. Can't blame me. She was a talker, and she was a listener too. She loved music. Anytime that I had music on my laptop, she'd lay and she'd listen. Actually, her favorite was my favorite musical, Hamilton. I could never even start to play Hamilton without her jumping up and listening. She was constant company to me, and she always knew when I was sad or sick or upset. She was one of only 2 cats I ever knew to greet me at the door. So there was a lot of love there. Even if there was a lot of playfulness in her. She was smart. I had pet rats, and she learned to tolerate the rats, but I also had a mouse at one time, and she made it her life's mission to destroy that mouse. It was in her head that there was a difference between the mouse and the rats. One time I took the mouse out of the cage and I put him in a little plastic shoebox tote with holes in it that I put him in whenever I cleaned his main aquarium. And then the time it took to do that, I turned around and Dee was inside his aquarium looking for that mouse. But there was another time that one of the rats got loose and she actually blocked the rat in a corner. Didn't hurt her, but she blocked her there until I could grab her. She was a really smart cat. And there's going to be a lot of memories that come up. I'm going to think of her every time that I see Marty's tennis ball that he never likes to play with, but she used to grab it with her front paws and kick the crud out of it with her hind feet. She she didn't play much with her own toys except one Christmas I remember I brought home some groceries and some presents, and her little catnip bird was in one of the Walmart bags. And before I even had the groceries put away, I heard squeak, squeak, squeak. She'd gotten it out of the bag. She never cared much for her little laser toy. I'd shine it, but she knew it wasn't a real mouse, and she's like, it's not worth the effort to chase. If I got it close to her, she'd put her paw over it, but yeah. I'm going to think of her every time I see the model ship that she used to knock over. I'd come home all the time from work, and I'd find that knocked over, but it was really the only place I could put it. But yeah, what I wouldn't, I was thinking the other day of what I wouldn't give to hear her knock things over again, to hear that meow of hers when I scold her, even though she knew I didn't mean it. This channel is Remember the Magic, and if there's one thing we know about magic, there's no stronger magic than love. Dee, you were magic, and I was thinking of how I do research for my videos, and I came across Mexican, I don't know if you'd call it a philosophy or a legend, but in any case, the story is that everyone dies 3 times before they're really dead. The first is the physical death of your body. The second is when you are either buried or cremated. And your final death is when your name is spoken for the last time. So, D, Didi, Kitty D, Queen D. As long as I'm alive, you'll never be truly dead. And I know that you're with me the only way that you can be. And until you're in my arms again, I'll remember you. Man, it's gotta be hard when I'm without you. But I know that I wouldn't trade the memories I have of you for anything.